Here we go. Welcome everybody to our final virtual Career Tuesday of the spring 2022 semester. Unbelievably, we get to welcome back two alumni from McKinsey Company. Start strong, end strong. This is one of our exciting virtual Career Tuesdays. We do have some people on, and as always, we'll have people that will be watching this presentation later on YouTube. So please remember, if you are on right now, you want to go back and reference anything, that it will always be hosted there. John Abbott is the alum who's going to be presenting today. Kelly, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to stay on the whole time, so I just want to be able to give a shout out for you to say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone. Here to answer any questions. John's definitely going to lead this, but you can chat me in the background if need be. Thanks for coming.
And remember that the chat feature is here for right now while they're doing the presentation. Either raise your hand or put it in chat, and then we're happy to call on you after so you can, network and have a conversation. I just put a link in the chat for the McKinsey Connect forum. Kelly reached out to us a while ago to say this is the exciting time that McKinsey is recruiting at UConn, right? Go Huskies. This is the way to connect, right? You absolutely want to go to that link after this session. Go to the link, complete the form. The form will then put you into the recruiting system, which will introduce you and share small group recruiting events with you. You'll see right now in Handshake, there's probably about 5 or 6 McKinsey events. There's actually one tonight. I think at 8 to like 9:30 at night. But there are all kinds of sessions happening, but you really want to make sure that you take that opportunity to get into the McKinsey program. And so, John, I am delighted to welcome you. We forgive you for not being a School of Business graduate, but you're a UConn grad, so that absolutely counts.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kathy. Appreciate it.
I'll let you share your screen.
Awesome. And I will say I did take a bunch of classes in the School of Business, so maybe an honorary.
We'll send you an honorary School of Business.
Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Kathy, and everyone for joining. Super excited to be here. Great to be speaking with a bunch of Huskies. Go Huskies. So as Kathy mentioned, my name is John Abbott. I am an alum of UConn, and I currently work at McKinsey Company. So here today to chat with this group on what that's like, as well as answer any questions that you may have. So just wanted to start out with a bit about me. I grew up in Wallingford, Connecticut, which for those who don't know is about an hour south of UConn, directly south. Graduated from UConn in 2017. And then immediately decided to go get a graduate degree from Cornell, which I graduated in 2019. And then from there moved to New York City, which is where I live now. A couple other things, as you might have gathered, I'm not a business school graduate. I had a bit of a winding path to get to McKinsey. My background is actually in healthcare. So from UConn, I was an allied health school major, which means I wanted to go into medicine. I wanted to go to medical school and ultimately be a doctor. But pretty quickly, I decided that direct patient care wasn't for me, and I wanted to go towards the business end. So that's sort of why I decided to attend Cornell after graduation from UConn. I pursued my MHA degree, which is a Master's of Healthcare Administration, which for folks who don't know is a great way to get into the healthcare side of business. A lot of folks go into hospital administration, as well as consulting, life sciences, and other industries like that. So after graduation from Cornell, I joined Deloitte Consulting, which is where I worked for about a year or so before joining McKinsey in 2020. Before I go on to the next slide, Kelly, did you want to have an introduction as well?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Finn. I graduated in 2020, so almost a year ago. I did finance in the School of Business as well as a few other studies around UConn. Had a great experience there. got involved in the Yukon Consulting Group, which quite literally changed my life by showing me what consulting actually was. I figured it was a perfect cross of the technical analysis I was learning in the School of Business, as well as the global perspective that I want as a long-term career. And so I decided to go for consulting, and luckily ended up at McKinsey, which I personally think is one of the best firms beyond consulting to work at. Just because of the global exposure and all the different type of sectors and type of work that you could be doing. And I'd be remiss to not mention the high caliber of the colleagues that we work with, including John. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have worked here for the past 8 months, and I'm looking forward to continuing that journey, and happy to kind of bring you all into this opportunity to be able to work at McKinsey. Oh, I'm also from Stanford. And I'm in the Stanford office at McKinsey right now. We have a branch here.
Thanks,
Judy,
Kelly.
just across town.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about McKinsey is the breadth of offices, both in the US and internationally. And we'll get into it later, but I think coming out of school as a student, just having the ability to go where you want to go and live where you want to live is really great. So before I jump into the meat of the presentation, I just wanted to share a couple of fun things that I've done since joining McKinsey. The left-hand photo there is a fun team event at John Mayer in Seattle, which was really great. And then multiple team dinners are pretty common at the firm. I'm sure Kelly can attest, but just a photo of one of those. So before we jump in, wanted to give the group sort of a view on what it actually means to be a consultant and what life is like if you join the firm. So pretty immediately, I think really from day one, consultants have the ability to own meaningful parts of the projects. A lot of what we do is interacting with senior executives and other clients like that to really help them achieve their goals and achieve sustainable impact for their organization. So I think that's unique in the consulting world, where if you join in the corporate space, you have to sort of work your way up the ladder before you get into the position that you really get to get into at day one if you decide to join a consulting firm. So I think that's one. Second exciting piece is the team members that you get to work with if you join McKinsey. I think Kelly really said it well when she mentioned the caliber of folks here, and I can attest that that's more than true. My colleagues are great and super smart and really sharp in terms of both business sense as well as life. So I think that's really just an exciting aspect of joining the firm. And then lastly, and very importantly, is just the opportunity to be mentored and coached by both peers that you would join with, as well as firm leadership who are really leaders in their respective industry and some of the smartest people I've ever met. So I think between these three things, it's just a really exciting firm to join, and I hope you all will consider applying. So I get a lot of questions on what consultants actually do day to day, right? It's sort of a nebulous term. So I wanted to break it down what the day to day actually looks like. And really, it's only a couple things, right? I think one, and probably most importantly, is the problem solving aspect of consulting. Something that's exciting about McKinsey is the values that we have here at the firm. And one of the most deeply held values is the problem solving aspect, where folks like myself, Kelly, as well as the partners and the senior partners really get together on a daily basis and just problem solve and think through kind of the top challenges that our clients have and how we can help solve those challenges. And I found this environment really to be collaborative and really open. And along with that, you're encouraged as a BA or even as an intern to speak their mind and to speak up, even if you disagree with the more senior folks. And that's actually very much encouraged. So I think that's really exciting, especially as a new grad who, you have a perspective, and I think it's really valued at the firm. Presentations and workshops are also very common, probably more on a monthly basis, I would say, or definitely maybe biweekly. And these typically consist of presenting to the clients some of the work that has been done over the week, typically through steering committee documents or governance committee documents, really to tell senior executives what the insights from problem solving has been, and how those can help drive a positive impact in their businesses. Reports, interviews, and coaching. These are all other day-to-day activities that I typically do. Reports, this is typically analyses that I'm conducting to help lead into problem solving and really provide a productive discussion there. Interviews, of course, while we're smart, we don't know everything for sure. So it's very common to conduct interviews with some leading folks in the industries. We partner with some vendors who are able to connect us to really top executives and other deep knowledge experts in the areas that we're working in, really to get the best perspective for the clients. And then finally, coaching. And this is, I think, a very exciting aspect of working at McKinsey, in that you both get the opportunity to coach your peers as well as the clients, right? The clients often look to us to help coach them on a daily basis in terms of how they should be thinking about their meetings, or how they should be approaching their boss when they have questions on some of the work they're doing. So I just find that very exciting as sort of an early careerist to have that opportunity to coach senior executives in the industry. So what does this mean for you? I mentioned a lot of these. Top management exposure is a really great one, especially as a new graduate. Also wanted to point out that McKinsey is broadly a generalist firm, and that means that you'll have the opportunity to get exposure to a range of industries and skills, and really hone in on a bunch of different topics that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do if you joined another company, not in consulting. And then also, just solving some of the most difficult and interesting problems that are going on right now in the world. I know for myself, I work in healthcare, and I've tackled a bunch of very interesting subjects, from how should governments respond to COVID to how we should be thinking about reducing supply shortages for some interesting medical devices and other personal protective equipment, to thinking about staffing in hospitals and how we could optimize staffing to improve nurse levels in the hospitals to better serve patients. So really interesting challenges that folks at the firm are working on. I'm sure Kelly has worked on a ton of interesting things as well outside of healthcare, and you could definitely ask her about some of her work. But I think that's just a really great part of this firm. So wanted to give folks here just a preview on kind of what my typical work week looks like, now that I've told you a bit about the overall work. And really, this is sort of variable depending on the week. Sometimes in consulting, we'll travel to the client to go in person, and then other times we'll work virtually as well. So on a typical work week, when I'm not traveling, my time is often spent problem solving, which you can see Monday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. It's a fairly often event. Typically, I'll do that every single day with the team. Also, a lot of prep for client meetings. That's obviously very important, as that's often the main touch point that we'll have with our clients. So just making sure we're prepared there. And then also a lot of connectivity and fun events. Thursdays on my current team, I do early Thursday off. So I'll typically reserve that for dinner with friends or some video games or something else I find fun. Also on Fridays, that's typically the day where we work on team events or go into the office and catch up with folks. I'm planning a event with my team to do a escape room in New York in a couple weeks on a Friday. So just a lot of opportunity to do some networking, meet folks you haven't met before, and just have a good time. So work is obviously varied, and every day is something new. But this is typically what my day looks like. Kelly, anything else you'd add? I don't know if you have any other unique work week items that you wanted to point out.
Yeah, so as of recently, travel has been becoming a bigger part of the consultant life post-COVID, which is super exciting. So something that I might see here on my schedule is travel to the client site or with our teams. So McKinsey has been really supportive of bringing teams together because they know that in-person apprenticeship is what we call it, is absolutely critical to people development, both on the client side as well as internally. And so, for example, I'm flying out to Saudi Arabia in a few days for my next project. And I'm super excited to even have that opportunity to do that and be on the client ground and be with my team. It truly is an incredible opportunity to have such support from a firm.
Kelly, how many people are you generally on the team?
That's a really good question. And Jonathan can maybe speak a little bit more to this because he's more experienced than I am. My teams have varied from 2 people all the way up to like 15. So it really depends based on 1, the client, and 2, the type of problem. Typically, the structure of a team is a few layers, although we consider ourselves a very non-hierarchical kind of culture because everyone still is there for a reason and we want to hear your voices. Typically, from bottom up, you have your business analyst or your associate, which are the day-to-day analysis crunchers, on the ground problem solving. The next level is your engagement manager, which is also a project manager. They help liaise between the working team, the business analysts and associates, as well as the leadership and the client. The step above the engagement manager is your AP, which means associate partner. They're essentially colleagues with a little bit more expertise and better, or rather closer client relationships. And then above the associate partner is your partners, which are really tenured colleagues that have a lot of expertise in certain industries. And so that is the typical layering of a team. And those numbers can range a lot, I would say. John, if you have anything to add there.
No, I think you covered it really well. We might have many consultants at any given particular client, but from our perspective as associates, EMs, typically we're within one or a few work streams. So my typical experience has been maybe 4 to 5 core working members of the team, plus an AP or partner who spans multiple teams within the client. But again, to underscore Kelly's point, it really depends. I've been on a study before where it's just me and the partner. And I don't think I've ever gotten up to 15. That's a lot, but closing on 10, I think was the max I've seen.
So I just want to make sure that everybody has their chat function open. I do know that we have some questions in here, but there's also some great feed going in there. Kelly, thank you for sharing information on some of these as we're going. And then there's so much here that I want to dive into, but I'm going to let you get back to the formal part.
Sounds great. So just wanted to quickly touch on some of the values we hold at the firm. And this is really important for us, just making sure that we're holding to these on a daily basis and reflecting on these when we serve our clients to make sure we're bringing the highest ethical standards as well as developing deep relationships with our clients. And this is something I've seen time and time again at the firm, really upheld and really a focus for colleagues across the tenure spectrum, from the most new business analyst to the most seasoned senior partner, which has just been truly great. And just wanted to point out some of the bottom parts here. uphold the obligation to dissent. That's been something that I've seen in practice time and time again. And really, as a firm, we hold true to that, where folks are expected really to speak out if they disagree in a problem solving and present their case. And I think that's something that's pretty unique to consulting and to McKinsey in particular, where folks are really given the chance and the stage to say their piece and to provide their perspective on the problem that's we're trying to solve for. Also wanted to point out, while there is a hierarchy that Kelly mentioned, I've found that folks are extremely nice and sort of had a flat structure when we're interacting on a daily basis. Like I feel very comfortable with pinging the partners and other folks when I have questions or just chatting. So I just to point that out as well. Kelly, anything else you wanted to chat to on the values here?
I find that people really care deeply about the values McKinsey sets forth. John talked about the obligation to dissent, which in the chat I explained a little bit more. But I remember being at a dinner and we were having so much fun in a team setting. And then one of the associate partners told a story about one of the times he lived out firm values, and he was so passionate and so genuine about believing in those values. It really changed my perspective on what corporate values could mean at the employee level. I've never been at an organization that so wholeheartedly believes in the values that we have. And if you're wondering what are other values that McKinsey maintains, I would point you towards the website, and I can put it in the chat. But obligation to dissent is just one of a few. Another one is the idea of having a dual mission, which has two sides, as it suggests. The first is the people side, second is the client side. McKinsey knows and understands that the business is nothing without the people. So us, the colleagues that are powering the problem solving and the solution building, just as much as the importance of having clients is, right? And so I think that's another value that McKinsey really holds high, and it's so true in our everyday work.
I just want, Kelly, you just mentioned the website, and I put the link here to it, but I want to recommend to everybody that is even thinking about McKinsey is McKinsey has put so much time and effort into their career page, and it is filled with links. It's not just here's the careers that are open to you. It's interviewing techniques, case interviews, it's videos from people who work there. It's talking about the values. There's so much richness there that I think that that taking the time, even if McKinsey is one of the first consulting firms that you're looking at, is there's depth there that you can learn. So thank you for mentioning that.
Great. So also wanted to give folks on this call just a flavor of kind of who we are as a firm. We're a global firm. As Kelly mentioned, she's going to Saudi Arabia, and really we're international. I think that really underscores the point. We have 30,000 colleagues working across almost every state in all sectors of the economy, as well as multiple offices internationally that if you join the firm, you may have the opportunity to work with, which I think is just a really exciting part of being part of this firm. And actually, Kelly, I would love to hear how you got involved in your current study now. I think that would be really, really great for the audience.
Absolutely. And just so everyone on the call knows, we call our projects studies. McKinsey truly sees itself as a distinctive company in the industry, and so we have matching terminology for that. I see that Kunal also asked a question on how the teams are created, and our staffing process is very interesting. I would think about it as the partners who are the ones building the opportunities with clients for projects, and then the other side is the consultants, so John and me. Essentially, it's a matching process, but there is an intermediary between those two sides. The intermediary is called a professional development manager. This is a colleague that's designated to consultants to help them match to projects. This is really special at McKinsey because we have a dedicated colleague that is helping us solve for development opportunities on studies, networking opportunities, and also the projects and industries we're interested in. So at McKinsey, you could really build your own journey. And we say make your own McKinsey. For me, I came to McKinsey because I knew it was the most global firm in consulting. And I want to do international economic development for like my entire career. And so coming here, I was very communicative with my professional development manager saying, hey, I want international studies. I want it in these sectors. And she helped me and support my pursuit in getting projects or studies that were relevant to that. So that's how I found myself on this Saudi Arabian project. And like I mentioned in the chat, my last project, my entire team was in France. I was supposed to be there as well, but my visa didn't come in time. So really, you have the agency to make what you want and get on the projects that you want. And if you don't know the projects that you want to get on, it's okay. A lot of people come to McKinsey because they want to learn what their passions are, what they're interested in, because they know that McKinsey has all these opportunities across industries and across the world.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And that's super exciting that you had the opportunity to go do that. Glad that with COVID sort of ramping down, we're able to do that again. I think that's really exciting. And then beyond the project work, something that's also very important to the firm is our commitment to diversity and inclusion. We have many networks across the firm, really nationwide and internationally, on different focus areas that you can join if you're passionate about the subject. Just to name a few on here, we have the GLAM and GLAM Allies, which is our LGBTQ network of colleagues at McKinsey. We also have Women at McKinsey, which you can join. The McKinsey Black Network, which is our African American and Black colleagues at the firm, and many, many others. This is just definitely a subset of all the different initiatives going on at the firm. I'm part of the Asians at McKinsey Network. Kelly, are you part of any of these groups?
Oh, you're on mute, Kelly.
Sorry about that. We call our women's group All In Stanford, and so I'm involved in that, as well as the Hispanic Latino Network. I want to underscore this diversity point. It was one of the things that attracted me to McKinsey. If you look at any consulting firm and really think about the people you're talking to, and if you connect with them, you'll see that McKinsey is just stand out in this area. I've worked with so many different types of people, not only across racial categories, but also backgrounds from different schools. I remember my first foray into McKinsey was a webinar hosted by a Penn State student. And I had thought that consulting was a really kind of hard industry to break into, where only Ivy League students went to. And that webinar entirely changed my idea. And since I've been here, I've worked with so many people from all different types of backgrounds. So this truly rings really strong to me, if this is something important to you.
For sure. Sure. Also, something else that's exciting is some of the great alumni and Alumni Network we have at the firm. Almost 40,000 alumni worldwide, and some of the leaders of some of the world's top companies. You might recognize a couple of these folks. Sheryl Sandberg is right top middle. We have she's obviously the COO of Facebook. We have Sundar, who's the CEO of Google, as well as the CEO of the Lego Group, and just many other very distinguished and interesting alumni. And I think something else that's exciting about the firm is the firm is very supportive of folks who want to leave and either start their own business or explore an opportunity outside of consulting. We have a great alumni portal where we have job postings and other things like that to help folks transition to a new role if they want to leave. We also have a program called Search, where you're essentially given paid time to explore what you want to do. if you want. And then we also have things that you could join while you're at the firm, which are called secondments. And in that you have the opportunity to work at some of the awesome companies while still being employed at McKinsey. For example, you can work for a nonprofit group you're really interested in. And then you would come back to the firm after 6 months. And then you could decide from there if that the nonprofit work is really exciting and you want to potentially explore joining that, you have the opportunity to do so. So I've found the firm is just very, very supportive of folks, both when they join the firm, but also when they leave, and really throughout the rest of their careers. So again, McKinsey I found is just a really great place. A lot of awesome continuous learning opportunities. Definitely a lot of flexibility. We have plenty of programs that allow folks to take time off. For example, there's a program where you could take up to 3 months off, I believe, of work and explore a hobby or opportunity you're excited about. So really, really offering the opportunity for our employees to have the flexibility and explore the areas they're passionate about. And then, of course, we have the international network that we've already talked about. So you might be asking how you can join McKinsey. And there's really 3 sort of main verticals here, although there are plenty of others outside of this. But broadly speaking, the sort of 3 main areas you could join are consulting cross-functionally. And what that is called our integrative or generalist path, where you join the firm typically as a BA or associate, depending on what position you have. And then in that position, you'd work across industries and across functions, much like Kelly's doing, where you get to sort of experience many different types of projects and work in multiple different roles as a consultant. So that's one path. The other path is focused on a specific function. So that's what I do. I'm a healthcare person, and I work almost entirely on either healthcare or private equity engagements at the firm. So those are sort of the 2 consulting paths. But something else I wanted to point out that's definitely been growing at the firm is our tech path. And these folks are typically people who are skilled in design or software engineering or analytics. And they're often integral to our typical consulting teams. Like often they'll be deployed with a consulting team to provide expertise in analytics or expertise in design thinking, or other really integral and important parts of bringing distinctive consulting services to our clients. So this is a double click in the integrative consulting path. As I mentioned before, typically folks would join either as an intern business analyst. These are students who are pursuing their bachelor's or master's degree. And then this is typically a 10-week summer program where they'd be integrated into a client over the summer, and they'd essentially be performing the tasks that the typical BA would perform. They would be joining all the meetings and conducting the analyses and building the decks and coaching clients on some of the top of mind issues that we're dealing with on that particular project. After that, full-time, folks either join as a BA, which are people who have a bachelor's degree or a master's non-MBA degree, or an associate. These are folks who hold an MBA or are an MD or other doctorate type degree. And these are folks who are embedded on the client team, doing the interviews, the modeling, and really owning the particular work stream they're assigned to. After that, there's the engagement manager who leads the project team, as well as does the mentoring for the associates and the business analysts. then you'll typically have one or two associate partners who are leading sort of at a higher level the project. And then finally, the partner who is owning the relationship with the client and really taking responsibility for that, that part of the work. Anything else to add here, Kelly?
Yeah, one last thing. McKinsey also does business school or graduate school sponsorship. So for any pre-medis on the call, you could literally come to McKinsey and get some of your med school paid for if you were to go to McKinsey, perform well, get sponsored, and then go back to McKinsey. So one of the things I was shocked when I came here was the number of medical doctors I met here. Like when we talk about high caliber, top-notch talent, it's not just business talent, it's across fields. And so that's another thing you could think about when you picture a career at McKinsey. It's not only just progressing in your career, it's also exploring other things. John mentioned the secondments, but there's also education. And for me, being first gen and wanting to have a graduate degree under my belt like John does, being at a place like McKinsey makes that possible, and it makes it very easy and encourages it.
Yeah, that's a great point. My current client team has my engagement manager is a doctor, the AP is a doctor, and the partner is a doctor. So definitely a ton of MDs at the firm, as well as other doctorate degrees. But it's a place that really, beyond MBAs, there's a ton of folks who have specialist degrees and other PhD type degrees. So I think that's just really great. Just want to be cognizant of time. I see we have 5 minutes left. So wanted to see if it makes sense to open it up to Q&A or if we should finish up the pages. I think there's just a couple more to go.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, John. And for for how much time you want to spend, I'm sure that the students would love to ask some questions. So the hard deadline is not on our side, but more so on your side. And there are a few questions there. One of the things that I just wanted to mention is, the beautiful thing that you're doing here is you're really sharing that insider view of McKinsey. I have a feeling that everybody on the call is interested in McKinsey, and how do I begin that engagement? So for some of the questions, I will let the students ask, but I'm also interested in what does McKinsey look for the early careers, right? What kind of experience is relevant? What kind of skills do we want the candidates to really be highlighting? I mean, I think that's the simple fact that you explained to us that study is the way that you talk about the cases and the problems gives insight right there, right? So in those cover letters or those interviews, people need to be using the language that you're sharing with them already. So is there a question there, Kathy? Yes. So what are a couple of the skills that that McKinsey really kind of drills down into for the interviews?
John, if you don't mind, I would love to take this one.
Please do.
So one, definitely don't feel the need to mimic the language in your cover letters. We're interested in who you are and what you can bring to the firm, and everything else will come, including the business school sponsorship and the vocabulary and the opportunities. What you should focus on are 4 qualities that McKinsey outlines on its website. I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the chat, probably about 10 to 15 minutes ago. So first is entrepreneurial spirit. Second is personal impact. Third is leadership and inclusivity. And the fourth is problem solving. I might have left out the personal impact here, but essentially these 4 traits McKinsey explicitly says they're looking for in their recruiting materials and on their website. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please definitely go visit the website, read up on it. Like I mentioned in the chat, I probably spent hours in the website when I was preparing for my interviews. But these 4, the reason why they matter is because these are the qualities of a successful consultant. And McKinsey understands that. John, if you have anything to add on to that.
I think you covered it well. You definitely are more familiar with that process than I am. If there's any folks who are interested in more of a specialized path, I'm happy to answer the questions there.
Yeah, that's a really good call out. I everyone on the call, you should know, and I think John already mentioned this, there are different paths that you can take at McKinsey. There's the generalist one, and then there's all these different paths you can take, not just as like a digital or an operations, supply chain, marketing. These are all things that are open to you as well, but there's even like different paths like data scientist and expert in whatever industry, analytics, private equity. Like there are so many different type of careers that you can join at McKinsey, not just as a consultant, but adjacent kind of roles that still value that problem solving rigor and so forth.
Okay, I'm gonna let people raise the hand, the proverbial hand on here. We do have a couple questions in here, so if you put a question in the chat and it hasn't been answered yet, why don't you raise your hand and then we'll let you unmute yourself.
While we're waiting, Kathy, I just want to say, Kelly, thank you very much, because Kelly's been doing a running dialogue of answering all the questions there. But if you would like to ask a question on video, fantastic, and please go ahead.
Okay, Siraj, go ahead.
So I actually wanted to give others a chance if they have more general questions, but mine is particularly specific to me. So I don't know if you guys want me to ask mine or give others a chance.
Why don't you ask the question, and if it's something that we should bring to the end, we can do that, but it may be of interest to others.
Okay, so at least for me, I am pretty familiar with McKinsey. I've applied a few times. I've been waiting for a while to hear about my last application, actually. And I'm actually in the process of interviewing with another consulting firm entirely, but I'm really interested, and I'm curious if there's a faster way to get an answer to see if I'm the right person, instead of waiting for an extended period of time.
So that may be pretty specific. So why don't we hold on to that one for 1 minute? Yep. Okay. I'm gonna butcher your name. Diju?
It's Duigu, no worries. First of all, thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing your experiences. My question is more related to the consulting field, since I don't have previous experience in it. What are your favorites and least favorite parts of it? Maybe like some challenges you experienced and some opportunities that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, great question. I guess I'll start. So favorite part of the consulting field is two things, I'd say. One is the diversity of work that I get to enjoy. Every day is different. Yeah, I might be tackling one problem one week, and then the next week I'll be sort of doing something totally different, which I think is really great and exciting, and allows me to find the areas I'm passionate about and hone in on those. So that's one. And I'd say two is just the people at the firm. As you mentioned, I think they're just so great, smart, nice, and really supportive. And I found that's to be true across most of my teams at the firm. So in terms of the most challenging aspects, I'll give two again. One, I'd say, is the working hours. Sometimes at the firm, it can be quite intense depending on the week and depending on the study project and other factors like that. And oftentimes folks are up quite late, which is can be difficult from a work-life balance perspective. Luckily, I found most of my projects haven't had much weekend work, so that has been good. But that's definitely one hard part. And then the second was the traveling aspect. I know some people really enjoy that, like Kelly. For me, I like a small dose, so maybe one to two times a month I'll travel. My current client's on the West Coast, so it's a bit long of a trip, but I try to get out there at least a couple times. So.
Yeah. See, this is the perfect thing about McKinsey. You could literally solve for what you want. I will start with the challenge, which is definitely the working hours. But you guys, like, put yourself in our shoes. You come to one of the most prestigious selective companies. It attracts the brightest talent. People are eager to work hard, and we are so intrinsically driven to serve clients, because you'll find a lot of people here like care about serving others. And so we want to do our best. We want to deliver work. And so consequently that can mean long hours. And I think it's a skill, you know, as you become more tenured and more developed, you find ways to set boundaries. Like John mentioned, he takes Thursdays, his Thursday nights for himself to meet up with friends. It's something I'm not typically very good at, that I'm still working on. So that's definitely something that is tough, but definitely manageable at a place like McKinsey. My favorite part is the agency to reach out to people and be heard. This could be in a problem solving session with a client, or it can be offline if you're just trying to get to know someone. You can be speaking with the coolest person at the company who's the most tenured, and they're still likely going to respond to your cold email asking them to learn more. And I love that ability to just reach out to people, be heard, and connect with others. In fact, I met like one of the coolest people I think I've ever met recently at the firm. And he grew up in Italy, he started his career at McKinsey in Italy, moved to the Sao Paulo office in Brazil with McKinsey, went to Harvard Business School in Boston, then moved to the New York office in McKinsey. When I spoke to him, he was in Dubai, and I was like, why are you in Dubai? Because of clients? And he's like, yes, but also I'm meeting my family here. And I'm like, where's your family from? He's like, Senegal. And I'm like, you are literally the most global person I've ever met. And I told that story to another colleague, and they were like, Kelly, there's like tons of people at McKinsey like that. So side story for how cool the network is here and how much I love being able to get in contact with them. Folks, it is 4:50, and I know we went 5 minutes over. I just want to give a huge shout out to the UConn team for organizing this, and John for being incredible and walking us through all those awesome points about McKinsey. So if we can give him like a nice little remote clapping and round of applause, that'd be great. But if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to the career office, the School of Business. And if you would like to reach out to me, my email is kelly.fin@uconn.edu, and I'll try my best to get in contact with you. I'd highly recommend you leverage the McKinsey Connect form. You're going to have a better chance of learning about the firm and kind of getting opportunities through those events than you will directly to John and I, but we're always happy to share our experiences if helpful.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelly. Great to chat with you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you.
to get to answer your questions, you can send them to recruit@business.uconn.edu. I'm going to stop.